everybody, and welcome back to a new episode where we learn good. We play our game in our own changed setting and universe of Waterdeep, now called Waterdale, with new elements of the Industrial Revolution. Of course, our key feature remains a long-lost treasure. Last episode, our group gave their farewells to Theodore, with a little goodbye kiss included. Then, our group went to the ship on invitation, leaving more chaos in their wake. But, without further ado, let's all scoot into the paths of a new adventure. It is the last day at the house. This would be a final goodbye for who knows how long. The characters of our group, the Skillbent Sigil, hurry around to gather their supplies, apart from a remark here and there to remind each other about certain equipment.
Don't forget bringing hygiene supplies either. Just stop the brush your teeth. You're not gonna tell me that you don't brush your teeth and wash your hair. Yeah, I'm bringing that as well, but just the basic supplies that you're not fucking, you know.
With Arthur and Averai stunned into silence, caught off guard by the mere guts of their teammate, we now move to where the characters gather around the entrance of their house, their staff carrying their luggage safely to the ship. There wasn't even time for a good and thorough introduction between Averai, Arthur, Fletch, and their very own staff. That would have to wait, at least until their return. Apart from the exchange, something else occurs. It's Fletch who receives a strange letter. The mailbox pointed upwards, signaling for mail, and as Fletch walked over to retrieve it, he found a letter addressed to himself. An odd letter. No sender or other address written down. Just Fletch den Teich. Upon opening, it was revealed to be from someone we know. Someone to avoid by, let's say, boarding a pirate vessel and traveling to a neighboring island? Clarice. Nevertheless, Fletch shoves it down his pocket and carries on. Our group takes a small walk through Elder District to retrieve their weapons before boarding the ship. They reach their destination easily, the smithy, the Bladesang Armory. As they enter, the hot steam from cooled down irons and ores fills the air. It feels like a sauna in here. Derek stands dressed in an apron, shorts, and iron-nosed leather boots. He wipes some sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. He's covered in soot and coal. He coughs hoarsely and looks up at his well-known customers.
Mate. Welcome. What can I do for you? Well, besides, of course, your weapons. Alright, let me just open the back. So now I have 3 starting needles and 1 unbendable. Yeah. Very cool. And he gives you a little leather box with a gun in it. I also made a case for it. I noticed you didn't have one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just for safekeeping.
It's just for safekeeping, really. You don't walk around with a gun. You know? It's not really...
Yeah, no, you shouldn't. Yeah.
Leaving the shop, Edmund throws the box aside once Derek's shop leaves his vision, since he is very specific in how he carries his gun. He prefers it strapped to his belt on the back beneath his jacket. All weapons retrieved and home to their owners, Edmund, Fletch, Averai, and Arthur walk through the streets of Elder District, leading to Squalor's End, therefore passing the border where it opens passing the border once again. The group can hear shouting in the distance and what sounds like a crowd. As they grow closer and closer to the noise, they can peek around the corner and hear what's going on. They see a civilian, a woman, in a long but rugged green dress. It is tied in a knot around her knees, possibly to run better. She's standing on a large wooden crate and surrounded by a crowd of people.
We, the poor, should stand together against the cruel tyranny of the rich. In this city of steam and smoke, where the factories belch their choking breath into the skies, the wealthy lords and ladies feast upon our suffering. They sit in their opulent manors gilded in gold, while we toil in the darkness, our sweat and blood mingling with the gears of our inventions and creations. The fat cats grow fatter while we starve and scrape by on the scraps they toss our way. They invest in us, and what do we get? A 3% profit, if we're lucky, and a day longer to live under their ruling. But I say enough is enough. We, the common folk, the inventors, the creators, we are the backbone of this society. We wield our tools, our swords and our spells to shape this damned city. And yet, we are treated like disposable pawns in their game of power and wealth. Look around you, my friends, at the misery that surrounds us. Our children labor in the factories, their small hands forced to feed the never-ending hunger of the industrial machines. Our elders wither away in the darkest corners of the workhouses. Their stories and wisdom will be lost to the cold embrace of that poverty. We are taxed and oppressed to the point of despair, while the rich revel in decadence, sitting on their arses, untouched by our suffering. But we should rise to demand our fair share, our rights, and our dignity. We are not mere serfs, not pawns in their games, but genuine and genius folk who understand the true value of hard work and sacrifice. We may not have their gold, but we have something far more precious, our unity and our resolve. Let us not forget the strength that lies within our diversity. Everyone is Squalor's End bound by a common purpose, to topple the oppressive rule of the rich and powerful. We shall no longer accept the crumbs that fall from their table, for we are the ones who build those tables with our sweat and toil. We should fight together to end this unjust, for justice and equality, for a brighter future for all of Waterdale.
More and more people started to gather around the speech of this woman. But it wasn't just regular folk that had gathered. The speech also gained the attention of nearby guards, wondering what the ruckus was about, and they stood ready in case havoc broke out. One of the guards moved all the way up to the woman on the crate, even going as far as joining her on it. The woman stood her ground and glared at the man before her.
What's wrong, Captain? You think just because I'm a woman I do not have a voice? You think just because you come near me, you frighten me? You're just waiting, aren't you? Until I back down from this box? Well, I'm not. And you can't do jack shit about it. Because this entire crowd here will tear you to shreds. So back down, dog.
The woman spits on the floor next to the guard. The man scoffs and steps off the crate. People are cheering, and slowly the crowd is getting smaller and smaller again. Considering the appearance of Edmund, Fletch grows alert. Similar to Fletch, Averai moves closer and takes off her cape. It is a long, grim, purple-colored cape with a hood, enough to somewhat shield the symbolism of Edmund's wealth. Fletch, being focused on his surroundings, catches sight of something else.
But as you're very, alert, can you roll a perception check with advantage?
Oh,
A perception?
11. Of course, a lot of people that are right now leaving, so it's a little bit, less, it's a little bit less crowded, but because everyone's leaving, there's a little bit less order for you to, look through. But however, through the crowd, you do notice, someone, and among the crowd, you spot the lady in veil.
The one you met at the Bilmore Ball. Alicia.
Catching her eyes, Alicia throws a kind smile his way and makes her way over.
Fletch! Long time no see. Wasn't that speech just empowered? Oh wait. Are these your friends? Hi, it's so lovely to meet you. My name is Alicia.
Nice to meet you all. My friend on the crate was Cassidy, actually. Wasn't her speech as inspiring?
Hey, it was, they have me seen your perform.
Understandable.
Certainly interesting to hear this side of the story.
Unfortunately, the group was still in a bit of a hurry. Cutting the conversation short, still desperate to make way to the harbor and leave town, Fletch gave Alicia a small wave. The thick fog swirled around the streets of Squalor's End, muffling the hurried footsteps of the Skillbent Sigil. The party, Edmund, Fletch, Arthur, and Averai, pressed forward with determination, the sinking sun casting the last rays of light through the fog. The air felt heavy, the growing darkness mixing with an unsettling quiet, save for the distant clatter of footsteps and murmurs from the nearby taverns. They were already running late. Captain Caspian and his crew would not wait long for slackers, especially not in this part of town. Hustling through the winding alleyways, the destination finally came into view, the harbor lined with ships. They quickened their pace, catching sight of servants from the house rushing up and down the gangplank, laden with their luggage and supplies. The ship was ready to set sail. Breathless but relieved, the group ran up to the plank. The ship rocked slightly underfoot as they reached the deck. As the Skillbent Sigil hurried across the creaking floorboards, their senses were heightened, especially Edmund's. His hand lingered on his hip, near his gun, all the while his eyes darted warily behind him as if expecting someone to emerge from the fog. Arthur walked close, his typical calm demeanor strained with an unspoken urgency. Averai's hand clenched into a fist at her side as her gaze lingered at the docks, a hint of tension in her jaw. She could almost feel Clarice's presence. She was out there, waiting, watching. It had been days of evading, but she was relentless. The longer they stayed here, the greater the risk she'd catch up. Luckily, Captain Caspian and his crew had their own reasons to leave. The ship groaned and swayed as preparations for departure were hurried along, sails being unfurled into the evening breeze. Feeling a sense of calm and relief, eyes now scanned the area. They sought Captain Caspian, feeling the urge to greet the man now that they were out unseen.
Okay, this is where we will be stuck for a couple of weeks.
Fletch muttered, straightening his vest as they made their way to the quarters. Despite their haste, the group managed to settle in quickly, finding their rooms surprisingly easy. They grabbed a quick bite of bread and dried meats, far from the dinner they had missed, but enough to ease the hunger. After making sure their belongings were secured, the group sought comfort in the ship's lounging area. The dim, lantern-lit room held a rough charm, the gentle sway of the ship already beginning to lull their senses. There, in the center of it all, Captain Caspian sat at a sturdy table. He leaned back in his chair, a half-smile playing on his lips, his fingers tracing the rim of a glass of moonshine. Before them, he placed more glasses on the table, one for each member of the party, with the clear intention that they join him. Well, some of the members. This was a time for the men of the group to grab an alcoholic drink.
Ah, Skillbent Sigil. Glad you could make it. I was beginning to think you had second thoughts.
The others joined him. They sat down, the business of their journey beginning to unfold in the conversation. But it wasn't long before the topic shifted, becoming more comfortable, more personal. He held up his glass, the liquid catching the flickering light. Caspian was a smart man. He saw a tension in the air, a certain apprehension, and sought to close the gap.
Maybe 2 truths and a lie to get to know each other a bit better. Who wants to go first?
Me, you brought up the idea.
I became a captain at 12. I can turn into a raven. My crew consists out of 6 people.
You became a captain with 40 people. You can turn into a raven.
Wait, actually.
Yeah.
So wait, the letter we got,
Oh, was
it you?
it?
Who knows?
Wait, it snapped at me. As in touching.
So I take a sip.
I prefer horse riding to driving in my car. I've learned sword fighting. And the gun I have right now is the only gun I own, or have owned.
I think the guns will.
That's correct.
Yes.
No, my animals.
Oh, you cannot even be original.
My very
Ouch. I think you started your business earlier or later. No? God.
The space wearing shoes. I like spacey food. And I keep a job.
I feel like it's
The spicy food, yeah.
That is definitely the food.
Arthur, Edmund, and Fletch were starting to relax. They were safe from Clarice her grasp. However, Caspian knew the group was still somewhat on edge. So, he sought to break the ice even further. With a drink or two shared between this group of 4, the party games were laid aside. Instead, Caspian began talking more and more about topics normally frowned upon in society.
Have you ever bed someone? I'm just curious, you know. I don't know how it works with mouse folk. I don't know how long you've been traveling, so I don't know if you've had like a quick fling or something. Like what how do you
I have, yes, and
curious?
I'm not a settler. I do not want to get married. I do not want to settle down with just one person. Feeling stuck to something.
No, because I keep sounding sus. I'm not gonna ask that one. It's getting too hard.
No, ask it! Ask it!
You're making
Ask
me curious.
it! Now we're curious!
What's the
Ask
sus
it.
question? I wanna know now. Wait.
The build up, yeah.
you know, just throw it out like. Beyond.
No, I am attracted to it.
But if anyone put down money, what you do with it? If it was like a crazy amount of money, would you suck a dick?
Who wouldn't for a crazy amount of money?
Good to know.
Let's be honest. It was a lot of money.
And if it was 50, would you fuck her?
No, that
okay,
goes a little
okay.
too far for my taste.
What?
I mean, if they're paying again, I would do it again.
That's such an Edmund response.
Leave me
If I make them back,
Good to know.
Arthur would do it for free.
Arthur, do it for free? It just not registered! Okay, so you're limited to women unless it's about money.
I suppose so.
Money can change an entire life.
Only a lot of money. Only a lot of money and no sex, just sucking cock.
Today, the group has finally made it onto the ship, a beacon of safety. It took a while before everything was in place, but here they are. The group has been unwinding after the long, stressful day they've had in Eldor, but not everyone was as happy to board the ship. The wooden planks of the dock creaked beneath sturdy paws as the waves pushed impatiently against the ship's hull. The air was heavy with salt and the faint stench of fish. Fingers tapped rapidly along the wooden oak table as the mousefolk remained seated across from his colleagues. He was jittery, on edge. The rest of the party chatted before him. Muffled voices, distant laughter, oblivious to their disassociated teammate. Fletch's eyes darted to the window, watching the gangplank from afar, which might as well have been a gallows. Waterdeep was already starving him of work, but now he was cutting the cord entirely. The money wouldn't come, not for weeks, maybe longer. He swallowed the lump in his throat, his jaw clenching as he bit back the guild threatening to spill over. They didn't want him, but still he'd send every coin, every drop of blood-earned gold, because it was all he could do to stay connected to the only place that had ever felt like home, a way to repay his mistake. He would make this work, he had to, but the doubt crept in anyway, poisoning his thoughts. What if no jobs came? What if he failed them? He stood up, the first to head to bed and silence the call of his hometown, sentencing himself to a night of reflecting. As the hours passed, the others of his group followed, heading to bed one by one. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you for listening to our episode of Loot and Scoot, with many more to follow. Next episode, we will be on sea. It will be our travel and experience on the wild ocean surface with maybe a mysterious merchant. But for now, we've bothered you enough. Bye-bye.
Later.
Adios.